You guys love the meta content. You love it when my videos talk strictly within the bounds of the content being made itself. You love content about itself, and that's exactly what you're going to get. I've been thinking lately about the trajectory of my channel and the history of my channel and the various peaks and valleys I've gone on. There have been some stinkers here and there. There have been some high notes, but in general, it seems as though my channel will follow this pattern where I get really interested in an internet subculture or a series of topics related to a particular subculture, and then I just go hard in the paint when it comes to discussing that particular thing. Like, I'll discuss it a lot, I'll try to center my channel for a period of time around that series of topics, and I will spend a lot of time thinking about those topics. And this is sometimes intentional. Like, I'll notice that my views go up when I talk about, for example, issues related to being a NEET, which is a huge aspect of my life. I'll notice that my views go up when I talk about issues related to transgender stuff or being someone who detransitioned, and I'll talk about that because it relates to my life. But it's not as though I compromise. Like, when I make those videos, it's because I want to make those videos. It's because I feel inspired to do so. But part of what inspires me, like part of where that initial push comes from, and part of what will ultimately cause me to think a lot about those topics for that period of time, will be the fact that I notice that people are paying attention to it. So it's not a one-way street. There's multiple. I almost said bifurcated. I don't think that's the right use of that word. There's a lot of moving parts here. There's a social aspect to this, and that's part of why I like to say that comments directly improve a video's quality, because comments, they don't just add context to a video. They don't just teach me things that I need to learn if I want to make better videos in the future. Sometimes they just directly inspire new videos that will come out in the future, and that's an awesome thing. But if you look throughout the history of my channel, you do see these periods of time where I'm really focused on one area of my life, or a set of things that are happening in my life, or an internet subculture that I seem to be enmeshed in that particular time as it pertains to or relates to my life, namely being the trans stuff, the NEET stuff. Those, I think, are the two most obvious examples, but there are other examples as well. And I just have to think, what will the next thing be in the midst of this, dare I say, slump that I'm in right now, where I feel fatigued fairly regularly, and the two things in the whole world that bring me something even resembling joy, sometimes actual joy, are my wife and playing Armored Core 2. I've been playing the hell out of Armored Core 2 on the PS2, and that's been really fun. And I've been having comfy and quiet and sometimes not so quiet times with my wife, which has also been wonderful. But like, beyond that, I've been fatigued, I've been tired, and I've pushed through the fatigue and the tiredness to do things that I like to do, or even things that I don't like to do, just to know that I did something that day, which is a hell of a lot better than just laying around that day. But either way, I'm still feeling like this, and I know what the cause is. I know that the cause is, to some extent, clinical depression. I know that to another extent, it is not going outside enough. You know, I'll try to get sun in whatever way that I can. I do have a deck, but you know, even with getting sun, even with watching my nutrition, even with doing what minimal physical activity I can within my apartment, it doesn't quite compare to the mental health benefits that I get from seeing the greenery and having the independence of jumping on buses and trams and getting inspired by all of the fine folk that you might interact with, encounter, or meet on the outside world, who all have their own stories to tell. Even if you don't interact with them directly, you're observing their tendencies, and that can in that can be fruit for thought, um, that can go on to inspire something meaningful. I obviously don't have that when I am confined to four walls in a room. So it it leaves me pondering, like it leaves me with this thought: where does this channel go now? We've seen the honeymoon era where I was gushing over my now wife, and I was learning all these things about myself and also implementing all these things that I had introspected on about myself prior to entering the relationship, where now came the practical implementation of said things in the form of that relationship that I'm in now. Um, you know, that honeymoon era, there was a huge focus on the relationship stuff and just general advice and things I had learned from my past relationships with cis women, with trans women, with cis men, with trans men, and the hookups I've had, etc. I kind of took all of that together and my general experience as a sort of abusive, sort of toxic partner, admittedly in the past, who is now a very loving and very healthy partner in the present. And I took all of that and was like, hey guys, if you were a piece of shit like the way that I used to be, maybe you should try to do these things now and think this way now. Maybe this will speak to you, maybe this will help you out, because I'm pretty damn happy in my current place. And so that was the focus of a lot of those videos. There's kind of a reoccurring theme there. And obviously the neat stuff is the neat stuff, general lifestyle updates. You know, I tried to explain and tell as many stories as I possibly could from within the confines of my room. I've been doing that for years now. I think that well is just about dried out. There's been the trans stuff, both the actual trans journey, when I was actually taking the hormones and pretending to be transgender on the internet. That was all just lies, which I have unrefutably and immensely apologized for. And then there came the detransition arc, where I have just like painstakingly, in no uncertain terms and in a massive amount of detail, went over all of the different individual component parts that went into my thoughts on detransition, why I did it, why transition wasn't for me, really excruciatingly vulnerable personal detail at points, and why I'm not a transphobe today as well, also advocating on behalf of trans people. I feel like that well is dry by now as well. Like, it's a dead horse. I have beaten that horse until it is, and I apologize. I'm sorry for the graphic imagery. I have beaten that horse until it is dead and dying, just as I have with the musings and ruminations on my life as an unemployed guy. And the same goes for a lot of the drug stuff. There's certain stories regarding that I can still tell that might be interesting, but that stuff is in no way a focal point in my life now. I think that's probably a good thing. Um, but there are stories from, back in the days when drugs were a focal point in my life that I could still tell. I guess there's still a little water left in that well that I can squeeze out, and that's a video. But that's not an arc, that's not an arc that I'm going through. That's an arc that I've been through, and so that's kind of a revisitation of that's kind of me revisiting a set of themes that I've went over. So, like, where am I now? I've had the various wagey arcs, my various attempts at waging. Not to say that I've given up on it. I still intend on waking up tomorrow, assuming it will be a better day than today, and with a mindset that is shrouded in vigor. If I don't achieve that, then I will attempt that, and I will continue looking for alternatives that work for me. I will continue looking for mitigation strategies that are applicable for my specific mental health situation and geographic location and so on. I will continue fighting the next day to try to find a way where I can be functional in society, even just for a time, even just to meet certain goals. I don't think anything should be off the table for me. I think I should continue striving to learn more and be more and do more, which is exactly what I'm going to do. But that that in and of itself, like what I just described, is fairly vague. That is not an arc. Me having a job is an arc. My thoughts on the jobs that I've had, that's an arc. Or rather, the thoughts that I have on them as I have them, that's an arc. The places that I go and live in and spend time in, that's an arc. So what era are we in? I feel like we're just in this era where I've jumped back into a lifestyle that I know very, very well, that I'm very comfortable with because I'm intimately familiar with it. And the primary difference now being the stability of my living situation. I am in an apartment that I know I can stay in, that I know will be here, and I am with a person who I love very deeply, who contributes immensely to my life, emotionally, mentally, physically, not to go there, but, and so on. And so there are these clear advantages to my situation as it stands currently that I have over the last times that I was unemployed and could accurately be described as not under education, employment, or training. That is true. But now the question now for me is, what am I going to do now? Like, how am I going to go beyond that? Where am I going to go beyond that? What is next? That's not something one decides overnight. There's a lot of planning involved in that, and there's a lot of risk involved in that as well. And so whatever course of action I intend on taking on that front should, of course, make sure that I am keeping in mind all of the constituent parts of my current situation. Most importantly, maintaining this living situation, so I have a home base that I can always go back to in the event that anything goes wrong, ensuring that I am mentally stable, emotionally stable, that I'm intellectually sharp and ready to go, and so I can fight for a better tomorrow. That is what it's all about. And I know that I've been fighting fatigue. I know that I've been tired, and I know that I'm in this lifestyle situation that is all too familiar for me, but some amazing things have changed in my life. And those things are things that I am deeply grateful for. As far as this channel is concerned, though, I don't know what to say, because so much of what this channel revolves around is like me narrativizing my interest in a set of topics, or like the meta of a set of topics, or like the the big happenings in my life, or whatever. You know, it's narrativizing those things and really like just hyper fixating on them, and going on and on until I've exhausted every detail. And I don't have anything like that right now. I'm just kind of here, you know, I'm just hanging out, which is good in its own way. You know, I'm playing Armored Core 2. I'm I'm not going to say that because other people can hear me, but I'm doing things that are good and beneficial. There are flaws, there are drawbacks to things as of now, but I just gotta keep on going and assess the situation and try to find out what the best fit for me going forward will be. And hey, you know, if I fail again in my attempt, you know, whatever it may be, at whatever it may be, oh, I'm always going to get back up again and reassess and try something new. So here's to future times.